Yo, I think it's loud.
Is it?
Yeah, at least on my headphones it is.
Well, it seems like you're turned up a little loud. So.
That makes sense. Anyway, I'll let this end. Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Nihilo podcast. I have Gio here.
What's up?
I'm super excited. We had already talked like a few things, and it was barely like 5 minutes, man.
Yeah,
it was super
I walked
excited.
in talking.
Yeah, he did, bro. But yeah, just tell us a little bit about you. We met a few times through Hard Drive, and then
Yeah.
we met at the Curtis King event.
That was like in 2018?
Yeah, man,
Right?
2018.
Dang. That was before the pandemic.
Yeah, bro. What you been up to since then?
Ever since then, I've just been working.
Working.
So 2018 is the year that I started, like, before then I was an engineer at a studio.
Mm-hmm.
Loved it, but like the grind kind of wore me down a little, and it was nobody's fault. I was just, I just kind of wore myself down, I guess.
Yeah.
So 2018 it was a pivot, so I chose to focus on production and songwriting to the point where I wouldn't engineer at all.
Mm-hmm.
I would hire somebody else to do that, even though I knew how to do it. Because I wanted to get good at it. I wanted to get good at production, strictly songwriting. Like, I really wanted to focus on that part of the craft, you know? So, top of 2018, I did several things. I did a songwriting camp. Right after that, I did Pass the Aux with Illmind. Like, I went to the one in LA. And then right after that, I saw you at the Curtis King thing. That was like in the summer of, right? 2018. Yeah. And then after that, I just kept on working on stuff. I think I started really doing sync heavy, sync licensing.
How'd you get into like just even the sync world? Like,
well, I'd already when I was doing Pass the Aux, I was already kind of dipping my toe into it. Matter of fact, 2017, 2016, I was already kind of toying with it.
And I guess we should also explain syncs because
sync licensing is, in layman's terms, it's the music you hear in TV and film, and that's my specialty. Like, that's kind of what my concentration usually is. And even saying that, I feel like is a little silly because all it is I make music and I make sure that it's like legally clearable. You and I love hip hop.
Yeah.
Problem with that is we like to sample. Can't really do that with sync. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just because it needs to be legally clearable. I mean, you can, but you have to be careful in the way you do it. And so, like, usually what I'll do is I'll partner with, like, musicians that, like, it's not even that they sound like hip-hop sounds. Like, a lot of the times the people that I'll pair with, really good country writers, really good soul singers, really good, like, indie songwriters, in turn with helping them with their music, I'll also make music with them that I can sample sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes that'll help me.
Was it always easy for you to network with like other artists?
Honestly, no, I'm a pretty introverted person until I start smoking weed. I'm just being honest. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Bro.
That's my like social lubricant. Some people drink. I'm thankful that's legal now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, yeah, I definitely feel that because I can be very like serious and to a point, but once I like take like CBD and stuff, like it really does relax.
Yeah,
me.
even if it's something like CBD, like it's just there's something about it that kind of kicks the why not in your brain.
Yeah,
that just like it actually makes me more productive simply because a lot of the times when I'm not smoking or when I'm not or when I'm just left to my own devices, I can make excuses why I shouldn't do something.
Which we were just talking about earlier.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. And when I'm smoking, I skip that step.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I just think about all the reasons why something is cool, and then I forget why I didn't want to do something.
Yeah. So you work with a lot of artists and stuff. Do you think artists run into that issue a lot of overthinking?
Yeah, a lot of the times because a lot of artists work from a place of selfishness, and not in a bad way. Mm-hmm. It's just that they come from a place where they're trying to scratch an itch, you know? So a lot of the times when they're doing something, once they've done it, they don't realize that they're no longer the person they were when they thought of it. So like,
yeah.
So the next step in their mind is like, all right, this can't be done because I'm still doing it. You know, like they don't know what done looks like, what finished looks like.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times people will just kind of toy with an idea until it's like beat to death. Kinda.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of the producer's job to tell them to stop.
Yeah, definitely. So like, when you were younger, like, how did you know you wanted to get into music?
It was the only thing I was ever good at. That and talking my way out of trouble. Those are the two things I was ever good at. Like, seriously. I remember getting kicked out of high school at a private school.
Oh, damn.
I'm not going to say what, not going to say where, but like,
definitely.
I wrote a really good apology letter, and they still continued to kick me out because they knew I had a way with words.
Dang.
They were like, you have such a way with words, I can't tell if you're sincere.
Dang.
You know, so, you know, that's how it was. And honestly, I felt like that was a real turning point in my life because, first of all, I think that sent me down like a spiral that I never really thought it did. Because in my mind, if people didn't believe in me that way, why would I believe in myself? And I just never applied myself until after high school, you know?
Yeah.
Or like until I found like music. When I was a kid, like I'm Filipino, so my parents or my mom and my auntie, they wanted me to learn piano.
Yeah.
But when Asians teach you piano as a child, it's not to get good at music.
Yeah.
It's so that you have good hand-eye coordination so you can use it to become like a doctor or like something like that. Something good with your hands, surgeon. Something.
Yeah.
I liked music, and that was a mistake on their part. You know, so like they were like, no, you're not supposed to like it. They like, I don't know, maybe if they had me do violin, I would have not turned out the way I am now.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, so when I was a kid, the only thing I was ever good at was music. And I should have known that I was like on the spectrum of some kind, because the way that I would like justify like homework and all that stuff is that it was for me to learn the thing. So once I did the homework, I wouldn't turn it in because I'm like, oh, it served its purpose. It taught me whatever it needed to teach me. Why do I need to turn it in?
Yeah.
So I would get bad grades in school, even though I'd do the homework, I wouldn't turn it in.
That's interesting. I've never thought about it that way. Like, you did the homework, you did what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
That's true, to be honest.
So I would barely pass because I would have great test scores because the homework did its job. The thing is, I never realized it was teaching you how to turn in work. Like as a grown person, like how you do a report for somebody and turn it in. I didn't realize that was the other part of it.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that also led to me like thinking independently because I never understood that aspect of homework or that part of schoolwork. Like in my mind, the goal of school was for me to teach whatever was in the books. So if I read ahead, I could just bullshit in school.
Yeah.
Like that's the way that I thought.
Yeah.
You know, so I would read ahead, I'd finish the book and just be bored at school. You know, I'd know everything that they had to teach me in the book, and I would just wait for the little worksheets.
Yeah.
I remember one time they were like, "Oh, print, you know, send this down to the office and get like 7 pages of like page 35 in this book. Mm-hmm. I looked in the book, all the worksheets were there. So I like printed 3 copies of all the stuff and then printed what I was supposed to, but I kept it. So all I had to do was do all the work.
Yeah.
And just go home and bullshit. I already had all the homework done.
Yeah, dang. That's crazy.
Like I guess I did school wrong. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So like, even as a younger person, like this is something that I'm just realizing right now. Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you asked like how did I like music? Music was the only thing that I couldn't cheat at. Can't cheat at music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You have to, music or anything creative. Creativity is honesty plus imagination. So like you can't cheat that. You know, that's probably why I gravitate to it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow. I've never thought about like art or like music in that way. Like, that's crazy. That's, I don't know. I got to think about that one for real. Like, but, yeah, man. So like, I guess like after you got like kicked out of high school, like what did you do?
Well, no, I went to public school.
Public school, okay.
And I met my friends that like kind of, because I already kind of messed around with rap and stuff. I didn't really know if I was good or not. Because I remember watching 8 Mile and all my friends wanted to start a rap group. I was the only one that took it seriously to where like I taught myself how to make beats. And I'm like, look, I taught myself how to do this. And they're like, oh, we're already on the next. We're already like messing with girls and stuff. I'm like, what? Damn. I just figured this out. Like,
yeah.
And like, yeah, well, while a lot of my friends were like, you know, getting their like, you know, they're like messing around with like girls and like finding themselves men or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, music, you know? And this is like 7th grade, 8th grade, and then going into 9th grade, then getting kicked out like middle of 10th grade. Going to 10th grade in a public school, you know, it was a different world because in private school, everybody's trying to pretend to be something, you know? And in public school, nobody has much to pretend.
Yeah.
You know, so I wasn't even used to being myself yet. You know, in my mind, I'm like, damn, what if they don't like me? I gotta act cool or whatever. You know what I'm saying? When all my friends were just being themselves. You know what I'm saying? There. So I learned like my style, rapping wise, that stuff. You know, and then I figured out what I wanted to do. I was like, oh, I really like production. Like it's just something that pulls at me. So like I tried to finish school early, do that, you know, and then go to Lars, that sort of thing. You know? And then after that, you know, I just try to do all kinds of stuff. I just always kept coming back to music. Yeah. Yeah. That's really what it was.
Yeah, I feel that. That's interesting because I was kind of like the same way. Like, I wanted to like start rapping first, and I was like, where am I gonna get beats? And then I started making beats and stuff. What was your first program that you started using?
Windows Recorder.
Windows Recorder and
a Tascam with like a Yamaha.
Okay.
So I would like record it on Windows using my Yamaha. I would like rig the 1/4 inch to like the 1/8 inch and then plug it into the microphone jack into my computer, and you can hear the hiss. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And then I would like play a really like with no metronome, so I'm just guessing. Dang. You know, and then I would record it, and then I would record that into a tape, and then I would play it back. I didn't know what I was doing, so I would do the chords first. I'd play it back into the tape. Tape only had 4 tracks, so I had to make use of it. Wow. And then what I would do is do the drums second. I don't know why. You know, that's when I learned that you should probably do the drums first. That way you can do everything on top. But I'd do the chords first, and then I'd do the drums next, and then I'd do the bass line last. And then I would take that. That's 3 tracks. I would record that back into the recorder. Now I have 1. Mm-hmm. I'd wipe the tape, and then I would record the track back in its entirety. That's 1 track, and then I would try to rap on the other 3 tracks.
Dang, bro, that's wild. How did you even learn that? Like, what time was this?
This was mid 2000s. I know I graduated in 2005, 2004. Uh-huh. So like it was before then. Okay. Like 2000s easily. 2000, 2002 maybe. Okay. And like I wasn't even that good with like FL Studio, or it was still called Fruity Loops.
Uh-huh, yeah.
And that wasn't the most readily available music program. It was this drum program called Hammerhead.
I had never heard of that one.
It's called Hammerhead 909. It copied a TR 909.
Oh, okay.
You know, and it wasn't that good. It was for drums. It was for like dance music.
Okay.
So I never really used that. I would just use like the Yamaha.
Okay.
And I probably should have used that because you could quantize on that.
Oh.
And when I was using the Yamaha, I'd be like, do, ka, do, da, do, ka, ta, ta, ta. Like I wasn't even thinking that it was out of beat. You know what I'm saying? Like I would get like, when you click 0-0 on Yamaha, it's just like the drum kit, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's like the kick, the clap, the snare, all that stuff. So I would just figure out the pattern that I wanted to do. And it would never have hi-hats. In my mind, my brain would be too much bandwidth to do hi-hats, kick, and the snare at the same time. So it would just be like kick, snare, 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 clap, kick, snare, 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 clap. Yeah. You know? And so I would like try to loop that as best as I could for 3 minutes. I would play it straight all the way through. Yeah. So I would play the chords for 3 minutes and I would play that for 3 minutes.
That's commitment.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even change it up. It wouldn't switch up. It would just do that. And then I'm like, it wouldn't even be like, oh, let me find the good part. It would just like, oh, I got to do it all the way through. And if I messed up, I had to do it again.
Dang.
But I think that kind of patience taught me how to make beats now. Like, it just got me ready for whatever I do now. Because I use FL now still.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, I can use whatever DAW I want. Mm-hmm. Like, let's say if I have an idea and I'm already like, let's say if I was mixing a record in Pro Tools and I come up with an idea and I already have Pro Tools open, mm-hmm. I'm lazy enough to just put a new a session on in Pro Tools and use like if it's Splice or whatever, and I know how to do it in Pro Tools. It's just not my preferred DAW. Yeah. But I know the essentials to kind of do it in whatever I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if I wanted to do it in Adobe Premiere, I could. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like if I was like editing a video and I'm like, you know what? I have an idea for a beat. I might just pull up a new session of Adobe Premiere. Not even Adobe Audition, Adobe Premiere. Yeah. And just drop like a loop in there and then just make it in Adobe Premiere.
Yeah, dang.
Because I mean, the essentials are, it's all the same, especially if you're messing with loops.
Yeah.
And even if you're, I mean, a lot of the purists will be like, oh, that's not music making. But if you think about like hip hop at its like core, it's all manipulations of different types of loops.
Yeah.
Exactly. So. I had to get over that little hump too. That hump where it's like, this isn't real music.
Yeah.
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 We always do that to ourselves. And that's kind of what I was talking about. Like there's just something about how we were raised in society. First of all, I don't know, when we got so afraid of making mistakes, how else were we going to figure shit out?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like looking back, like that's one of my, not my favorite things to do, but I'm so grateful for the mistakes that I've made because that's what kind of chips you into the person that you become. And like, I've become more fearless as far as like not being afraid to go down like a line of thinking and be like, oh, what if that doesn't work? Let's wait till it doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? Because the worst thing about something not working is that you have to start at the top.
Yeah.
That's not that scary. You know? If you have 24 hours in a day, you can finesse something. Like as far as like, you have 24 hours a day in imagination, you can get by.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Were you around like a lot of people that like thought like you for like a while, or were you just like by yourself? Or?
Well, no, I was around a lot of people that kind of knew who they were. You know what I'm saying? Like they had already kind of figured out what they wanted to do. And if they didn't, they weren't afraid to go down that path of like what they thought that they were going to do. You know what I'm saying? So that helped me kind of just not only just aspire to be like them, but like try to find my thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Was this like a close person in your life, or?
There were different people that did, like, for example, I'd have older relatives that would help me with that. I'd have friends like in business, even like when I was engineering at the studio that I was talking about. That person that I was working with, really savvy business mind, you know, and he wasn't afraid to like be a creative as well as a business person.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to do that at first. I didn't. You know what I'm saying? All I knew how to do was create.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is like it's two different brains. Like you had to switch gears.
Yeah.
I remember one time, like I had done something, like I had forgot keys to the studio in San Diego. The studio is in Hawthorne. You know what I'm saying?
Damn.
Yeah. And so I freaked out. Like,
yeah,
you know, for me, that wasn't, because we had sessions and stuff. And it was, for me, that's an egregious error. So I freaked out. I started crying. I didn't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? I kind of like shut down. And he was like, look, calm down. Nothing's that serious to where, you know, it's hopeless.
Yeah.
You know, just take a breath, regroup, and just gauge. Like, if there's nothing that can be done, we'll just push everything back to tomorrow. Like, you know, if there's nothing that can be done, you know what I'm saying? Just take time for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, know what you're doing. And, like, people, that's really what it is. I've made enough mistakes and had people like that would be like, I'm not going to give up on you. You know what I'm saying? That like when I learned what I wanted to do, I would take that approach with people that would get frustrated with themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, no, you're not going to get away that easy. Like, we're going to get something done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want to show you what you're capable of the way that other people showed me what I was capable of. It's one of the reasons I like hard drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like, I could, even just as you're like talking, like I can feel it, you know, like the like loving, like careness, like I could feel it. Like it's crazy.
That's the thing. Cause like I've had people in my life that gave me that type of love, that like nurtured that like kind of spark that I had.
Yeah.
Like I don't, a lot of the times they can see it. They don't know what it is, but they're like, can't give up on this kid because he has something or whatever, you know? And, you know, I turned into the person that I am, and that is something that's innate in me as well.
Yeah.
Like I can't, my friend Jesse that says that I like to like fix the broken toys and stuff. You know what I'm saying? And that might be true, but I always see the potential in people's like kind of half-baked attempts to realize what I kind of see they're going for. You know what I'm saying? Like I can see even like when someone shows me like an unfinished song and they're like, look, it's something little on me. And I'm like, okay, well, let's finish it then.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to. And they're like, but what if, and usually that what if thing is like, it's always something that's based out of fear. And I always say that fear doesn't really exist. Like it's always something that's, but what if they don't like it? They haven't not liked it yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, what if nobody likes it? Well, there's no one to not like yet. You haven't put it out.
Yeah. You
know, you haven't done the thing yet. So whatever you're afraid of hasn't existed yet.
Yeah.
So there's no reason not to do it. You know, and even if you do, it's probably not going to turn out the way you think it is. You know what I'm saying? That's usually like everybody's biggest fear is usually the biggest thing holding them back. And like everything that everyone wants is on the other side of that fear.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I always try to get people over. It's not even something to get over. I think that's the thing. People think that the fear is way scarier than the path through it. Mm-hmm. And people just don't want to deal with that discomfort sometimes.
Yeah.
I just learned that discomfort isn't real. It's almost like, you ever watch Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
The Last Crusade? There was like that large pit, and it looks like you had to jump it. Mm-hmm. And you had to take a leap of faith.
Yeah.
In reality, he threw sand on it, and it wasn't a pit. It was a bridge that looked like a hole. Mm. That's usually what fear is.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a really good analogy. Like, how did you come up with this stuff? You just...
Marijuana. I'm telling you. You get me smoking, I get to thinking. I wish I didn't give it so much credit, but honestly, it's one of the things that, like, you know, it just kind of mellowed me out, because my mind used to race 1,000,000 miles a minute. I used to worry about all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And then when you just settle and you're just like, nothing is as scary or as big and as bad as you make it in your head. All you got to do is do it and then figure out what you're doing next.
Yeah.
If you do that, most of the time, by the time you get to the next thing, you've already done the thing you were afraid of doing.
Yeah.
Like, all you have to do is do it. That's the thing that, like, once I started doing that, like, I'm not really an artist by any stretch of the imagination, but I have more listeners than a lot of people that I find that I think are talented but are scared to put anything out. Yeah. Just because I'll put stuff out. And people will love my songs. People will tell me that, you know, a lot of the songs that I have out have changed their lives. Half the time I put it out just to prove a point. Just to prove a point that, like I put it out, my stuff isn't that good to me, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
A lot of the times artists are so, and a lot of people are weird about this word, but they're so masturbatory. You know what I'm saying? And I don't mean like in the gross way. I just mean like the word itself means to self-pleasure. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So most artists are just trying to scratch that itch of creation, and that's it. It's almost like me not turning in the work.
Yeah.
It's just me doing the work and then leaving it on my computer.
Yep. Sounds about right.
Yeah. And so once you get over that, you realize, oh, I'm a chef. Or like I'm a carpenter. You know what I'm saying? I'm not making a chair for me to sit on. I'm making a chair for other people to sit on. Like, I'm making a meal for other people. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I can't just stop halfway. I need to prepare it.
Yeah.
You know, so I'll just finish stuff to its fruition just to, like, see what happens. Whether it's like I like to write. So if it's like an essay, poetry, if it's a song, or if it's like a collaboration with somebody with like multimedia type stuff, like if it's somebody doing like a video and I do score for it, something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I usually just want to do it to see what happens next. Yeah. And like, that's usually the best way to approach creativity.
Definitely. Yeah. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back. It's a 30-minute mark, but we'll be right back.
Perfect.
Yo. All right, guys. So we're just back from the little break. I guess I wanted to ask about you. Like, how did you end up joining Hard Drive?
So when I was an engineer, I would always keep track of artists that I liked. Mm-hmm. One was Kalani. One was Samaria. There's a bunch of different artists that I liked on different platforms, but I would always find my favorite artists on this platform called rnbase.com. Mm-hmm. One of the people that I always kept track of was this artist named Mickey Shiloh. Mm-hmm. And she was dope. she was a dope artist. I liken her to like the Kalanis and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I really like, even me personally, I think she's doper. But like I was always following her as an artist. I like her stuff. And I feel like it was in 2016, 2017, she had an idea for what would become Hard Drive, and I remember her talking on a live about it. She talked about it at length and like so long. It was, you know, how live is where you have to stop it and go if you're going past an hour.
Yeah.
It was like that, you know. And she was like writing stuff on like with marker on paper and stuff. And she had it on the floor. And it was fascinating to me. I was in between sessions. And fast forward to like 2018, 2019, when I had already stopped engineering, I would go to those, like R&Bass had like mixers and stuff. And I would go to them, especially in 2018 and 2019. 2019, I remember Nipsey had died early on, and it really kind of messed with my like want to go back out to LA, because I'd be going back and forth from LA to San Diego.
Yeah.
And I remember Hard Drive being like, she announced Hard Drive in around that time. And I joined it on a whim. I mean, it sounded good. It sounded like I respected the idea of it, you know. I believe the first one, it was like $59.99 or whatever, and I paid it. You know what I'm saying? And I would just pay it. And at first I didn't really do anything because it was so early in the idea of it.
Yeah,
I didn't have too much, but like I remember releasing a cover of. It wasn't really a cover. It was a song that it was like a song that I had done, and I released. It was a song that somebody else had released first, and then I released after. And like it was just my first foray, and I just wanted to see what the process of it was like. You know what I'm saying? If it was different than DistroKid or whatever. And one thing that I found, it was like if DistroKid was a mom and pop shop, you know what I'm saying? And at the time they were doing it through them, you know, at the time. But there was just a personal touch about it that I liked, you know? And then I remember when the site was first up, and just the energy of the possibilities of what it could be, you know? I really dug it. And then I remember, I want to say early 2000s, February 2000s, they had their first like writing camp thing. And I didn't go to the camp itself, but I was in LA around the time they were doing it, and they were wrapping up the camp. And she was like, you should really come by. You should really come by. You know what I'm saying? So like I go and I pop in, and I meet them, you know what I'm saying? And just the energy was dope. Energy was super dope. And so I remember top of pandemic, I'm just going to release a bunch of songs. Just going to release a bunch. You know? And I was working with a couple of artists, and we were working out of my crib in San Diego. Most of the time, I would just send stuff back and forth, but a lot of people didn't know how to do stuff. And the pandemic hit. And then during the pandemic, I actually, 2018, 2019, I was doing a lot of sync stuff. And I was placing things and stuff. I was actually kind of moving and shaking.
Yeah.
Working with anybody, really. And people that couldn't afford stuff with me, they would, I would do stuff in exchange for like hooks. You know what I'm saying? And so I would just get a lot of hooks done, and I would also just get some of my friends to do rap verses, and I would just release it as the producer.
Yeah.
I would just release stuff, and I'll release it all through Hard Drive. You know? And I remember I wanted to do an article on Medium that I never did. Still, mm-hmm. I'm still gonna do it, but I never finished it because it was an article about independent artists' views on what it is to be an independent artist versus the realities of it.
Yeah.
And then I did 5 free consults because I wanted to pick people's brains about that. Mm-hmm. And I did 5 consults. And then someone hit me up from Hard Drive. They were all from Hard Drive, by the way. Mm-hmm. Somebody hit me up, and that person was Eunice, who I would end up managing. Mm-hmm. She was the 6th person. So technically, I wasn't going to give her a consult. I looked at her page, realized she was Filipino. I'm Filipino too. Yeah. We look out for our own, you know? Yeah. So I'm like, all right, cool. I told her, like, I'll see you tomorrow at noon. She does it. She comes tomorrow at noon. I noticed an accent. Like, oh, where are you from? She's like, oh, I'm in Limerick, Ireland. I'm like, oh, what time is it there? It's 4 a.m. Oh. That's when I was like, okay, she's got the work ethic. Yeah. You know? And I'm like, all right, what do you want to do? She's like, well, what I really want to do is I want to release a song on Spotify. 1 song on Spotify. Mm-hmm. And I listened to what she sounded like. She was good. She had talent. But she wasn't pretentious. She wasn't like, oh, I'm the shit. Yeah. She was just like, I want to be good. I want help. I want to do this. And she was on Hard Drive. And I asked her, like, her situation and stuff. Turns out she didn't have citizenship at the time. She was supposed to get Irish citizenship, but everything kind of froze because of the pandemic. Yeah. I realized that if a Filipino manager were to approach her, he would have easily taken advantage of her. Like, it's just too easy to take advantage of someone with no citizenship. Damn. Technically, they didn't exist. Yeah. You know? So, and it's funny because I always told people that I would never manage an artist. It's too hard. Yeah. But I felt like it was my duty to make sure that she didn't get taken advantage of. Yeah. So one thing that I found that was beneficial was she had never been in the industry, not even a little bit. Mm-hmm. She did little videos on YouTube, whatever, but that was it. And so I can guide her the proper way. Yeah. You know? And this was October 2020. August 2020, this engineer named, who was it? Why does her name escape me right now? Hold on. I know who it is, but she was with Hard Drive. Mm-hmm. And she taught us how to remotely engineer. Yeah. Right?
That's just crazy.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Recording using audio movers and Zoom. And that's when I was like, oh, I can do this wherever. And so she was one of the real people that I tested on because that was August. And then fast forward to October. And mm-hmm. she's like, oh, I have this one idea for a song. I'm like, all right, well, I got to teach you how to record yourself. So download this 30-day trial of Pro Tools, right? And I will control your computer on how to, you know, as far as using it. And I recorded her through Zoom. Damn. And then she was like, oh, I'm down. Let's do another one. Let's do a Christmas song. And then we did a Christmas song. And then she would just have ideas on ideas. And she would learn how to, because like the internet isn't that great there. Internet isn't that great where I'm at in Mira Mesa. So she would learn how to record herself based on watching my mouse move. You know what I'm saying? And she had the template that I gave her because I had to set up the template for myself. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So she learned how to record herself by watching me record her on her computer.
Bro, that is crazy.
And she was able to finesse a 30-day trial into you know, kind of doing another month, you know.
Yeah.
And this was, at first, she had no money really. Like, she was just kind of doing it on a whim.
Yeah.
You know? I also told her, I'm like, you know what? You do good on streaming. And I had seen a Instagram ad for this thing called Kumu. It was a Filipino live streaming ad.
Yeah.
And she was like, I don't know, man. It doesn't really sound like me. We get off that call. She joins it behind my back. She just tries it. You know what I'm saying? It sounds malicious, but it's not. It's just like, it's, you know, when you hear somebody after they've said something to you and you've already kind of dismissed it, and then you've already got off the phone and you're like, but what if, you know? That's kind of what she did.
Yeah.
She got on and people loved her. And then we get on another call the next day. She's like, hey, guess what? You know? And then I'm like, well, that's great. And she's like, no, you need to help me because I'm too scared to do it again by myself. So hop on with me. So I join, and then we hop on. And then within like an hour or two, or less than, like, this one person who's like a popular person on there goes and joins this other person. And like, just people are joining and liking her, like liking how it sounds, liking how she's not even singing it yet. You know what I'm saying? And then she was too nervous to sing. And then she, you know, she gets goaded into singing and people love it.
Yeah.
And then what happens is she's like, okay, I got everything set up. Like, you know, people like kind of help her. She's like, this is what you need to start recording. This is what you need to start streaming on here.
Yeah.
You know, so like she kind of knows the gear that she needs to stream from her phone. And then what I do is I teach her how to use that gear and then route her interface through it so that she's running off the effects off the Pro Tools into the thing. So it's just quality, right?
Yeah.
And then she just gets good at Kumu, you know, and she just gets good at streaming, gets more comfortable. That December comes around and a typhoon happens in the Philippines. And, you know, we get I remember, since I'm managing her, you know, people approach me about her and they're like, hey, we know that you manage Eunice. Do you know other artists? I'm like, oh yeah, I know a bunch of artists from you know, Hard Drive. So I asked one of the members of Hard Drive, who's like a real fan of everybody, like, hey, do you know any Filipino artists from Hard Drive, or just Filipino artists? Do you know anybody? It doesn't even have to be from Hard Drive. Gives me a list of Filipino artists. I even hit up Eunice, and that's like Eunice's first big like thing. It's like a relief for the typhoon, and I even get a couple of non-Filipino Hard Drive artists like Faraz and, you know, other people like that. Gabby Neely, I believe, did one, and like there's other people that helped. But it really like solidified Eunice as a presence on Kumu. I remember that. And then she did a couple of things. She did she gets more confident on there, and then she does like a beauty pageant on there during the pandemic. She does all that, like, you know what I'm saying? I think that was in 21. And then like I remember near the end of 2021, like almost around her birthday, she's like, I want to put out an album of all the stuff that we were doing with all the people on Hard Drive, because what was happening is she would put out a record every week.
Oh, damn.
You know, and then once I remember, like at first it wouldn't like hit, like we were properly pitching them, but like it wouldn't quite make the ripples that she'd wanted.
Yeah.
She'd get like 10 people, then 100, then 200, you know, but you know, it's under 1,000, so it doesn't look like much. And then I remember the 7th one hit, and then we were already working with like a company out in the Philippines. Everything kind of happened right around the same time, and everybody just noticed at the same time. It was our first Tagalog, like full Tagalog release. Was the 7th record, and that one hit. And that one, when she did it, she got Fresh Finds Philippines, and she also got New Music Philippine Friday.
Okay.
And so like Spotify was noticing, you know, and people on Kumu were noticing, and like people were really kind of like hyping her up.
Yeah.
Like I'm jumping all over, but then like I said, like near the end of the year, she wants to do an album. What she essentially did was she took all the songs that she did on when she was putting out singles, she picked her favorite ones that she liked as is, re-released them, picked the ones that she liked that felt like they could have done better, did remixes for them, and then released like 4 or 5 like brand new ones, packaged them all into an album called Drive 51, put it out, and it was like 19, 20 songs. And like total at that time, she had like 30 songs. Now she has like 40 plus. But like at the time, it was like that. And she ended up 2022 winning Album of the Year, Hard Drive Awards.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Dang, man.
Yeah.
Congrats. That's
I believe I also won Producer of the Year 2021.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, man. Congrats for real.
Yeah. No, man. And it's interesting because, Grammys, well, as we're recording this, Grammys are going on right now. But to me, like, that community, like, that's who I care about. Like, as far as, like, whether or not, like, they're being satisfied or taken care of, or even if they, like, respect us or whatever.
Yeah.
That's who really I'm rooting for and I'm, like, creating for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was going to ask, because I do try to ask people that usually come, like, what is this, like, your full-time job? Like,
Yes.
are you making a full living
All
out of it?
I do is music. I wake up and I do music.
And what's the, I guess, one of the few ways that you make money out of it?
All right. Well, one of the biggest ways is sync licensing. So when you get your song licensed for like TV or film, on the low end, it's like $1,000 up front plus royalties. On the high end, like a buddy of mine got something for a bigger movie, but like a commercial for like a, and then it's showing like during like a big event and stuff, upwards of 30,000-40,000.
Dang.
So, that's actually pretty, like I didn't even say that part. Like I got sick during, like, after my birthday. Whether it was COVID or not, who's to say? I didn't really get it checked out, but I felt like it was.
Yeah.
And it was in April that I really felt the crux of it. I remember April, I'm going to say 17, 18. I checked my bank account because I wanted to get weed for 420.
Yeah.
And I did the math, and I wasn't working on anything because I wasn't feeling good.
Yeah.
So in my mind, like, the bank account's just blip, 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 just depleting.
Yeah.
I didn't take into account the stuff that I had placed the year before, the royalties that were coming in, all the people that I had worked with that it's hitting on DistroKid, all that stuff. I in my mind, I did the math and I was like 8K down. And then I checked my account and I was like 12K up.
Dang.
Because I didn't take into account all that stuff. And then that's when I was like, okay, I know what I can do. I can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, one of the ways that I make money is working directly with artists, although that's not like my main, like right now at this point, it's like royalties and like the fact that I'm constantly pitching stuff for sync. I'm constantly working.
Yeah, man, I see you. You're like out there every week, like at least like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
You're out there. I didn't know you can manipulate things too.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. So and Wednesdays and Saturdays I have 5-hour collab sessions virtually, and I'm working with people all over the world, and that's another way that I'm making my money. And then another way is consults, because I try to help other people monetize their stuff. A lot of people think it's just sync consults, but I also help people pitch for like curators, and I also help them maximize their creative monetization. Because a lot of people don't realize the amount of money they're leaving on the table by not doing certain things. So I help people do that as well. They can always get a consult with me. And I also, I don't necessarily make money from this, but I do song audits. It's a little $20, and that's exclusive to Hard Drive. I don't really charge for like submissions like that, but it's really more like I charge for like I'll listen to it and I'll tell you who to pitch it to, how to pitch it, what it's good for, if it's syncable at all, you know, what, like if you want to go that way, what music supervisors would like your stuff, like theoretically, you know what I'm saying, the best way to approach them, or the best way to approach any music supervisor, and just kind of guide you in that way as well. And all my stuff is pretty affordable on hard drive.
Yeah.
I try to keep it under like a couple $100, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess as we're like wrapping,
Yeah.
Is there any like last things you would say to like producers or songwriters or artists?
Yeah, absolutely. Put it out. That's because you know, there's so many people that they'll rap, record it, and that's it. You know, producers that'll make the beat, and that's it. And there's so many producers especially. I feel like producers are very pretentious. I feel like producers are a pretentious bunch. I might get a lot of hate for that, but like, I remember being a young producer sitting high and mighty on my little whatever pedestal I put myself on. Like, I'm a purist. I only do beats like this or that, or I only do boom bap, or I'm a conscious, whatever my hang up was or whatever. Just create, put it out. A lot of the times people don't put it out because they're afraid of what people will say, but in reality, when you put it out, you will find your audience. So when you put it out, you will decide, it will help you see what's next.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're your own worst critic. And I don't mean that as like you're super hard on yourself. It's always like you're not who you're creating for.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're not the person that's going to go out and buy your own shit. So you're not the person you're creating for. The people that you're creating for is out there. So if you don't put it out, it's not serving its purpose.
Yeah.
That's really what I have to say. Just put it out. Don't stress too much.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming through, Gio. Like, I appreciate you a lot.
This was fun. I love it. I'd do it again.
Yeah, man. I mean, maybe like in a year, we'll see where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. All right, guys. Peace.
Peace. Yeah, man.
Cool.
This was fun.